Good morning, everybody. I have here with me Alex Corey. Alex Corey's from Cultivated Change. Corey, how you doing this morning?
I am well. Thank you very much for inviting me to do this. How are
Oh,
you?
absolutely. My pleasure. I see that you've been doing the podcast yourself for a little while.
Yeah, so I have my own, and this week the new year's been a little interesting. So I'm now running two more. So I have three podcasts that I'm managing, but it's been a trip.
Wow, that's great, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come on mine. So
Sure.
super cool that you've been able to juggle all that, man. That's a lot because I do this. I don't know. Do you do all your own editing or do you have
I
someone helping
do.
you?
Yep. And I am now considering getting someone to do it because, as you can imagine, it is getting slightly overwhelming.
Yeah, it's a daunting task doing it by myself. So what I've done is I took a page from Jordan Peterson and I said, I'm going to take what I like to do and I'm going to see how efficient I can get at this.
Yes.
I can literally have this edited and published in a day, assuming my kids and all the other crazy world stuff that I have to do outside of this don't interfere too much. And I will juggle five things while it's compiling into an MP4.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
oh, yeah, yeah. I come back to the computer and I'm like 75%. I'm like, fantastic.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. So I respect that a lot. You're doing a lot there. Um, the first thing I want to talk about before we get into the business, because I definitely want
Hmm.
you to do all your business stuff.
Sure.
My shoulder's been killing me for a couple years. I pulled a muscle. It's been affecting my arm. My arm has been driving me nuts. And one of the things that drew me to be compelled to get you on my podcast was there's a machine, the Russian-made machine. I think it's called a
Oh, the Pravilo.
Pravilo. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Explain to everybody what that is, because to me it looked
Interesting.
like almost the rack. It almost
Yep.
looked like instead of perpendicular, it was like instead of vertical, it was a perpendicular version of like what they did to Mel Gibson at the end of
Yes.
yeah.
So this is relatively new to me as well. The Pravilo is, yeah, I'll try to paint a picture, and I can send you over some video of this as well. But basically, it's a Russian-made contraption. Uh, One of my friends who lives 10 minutes north of me did a lot of Sistema, which is martial arts training and Russian martial arts training, probably a decade ago, instructs and teaches it, and also utilizes Pravilo, which is it's about a 15 foot wide by 7 foot, or 15 foot long by 7 foot wide. You can build it out of anything. He used wood, and it has pulleys on the four sides with weights on the pulleys that attach to your limbs. And you can vary the amount of weights, and you basically cushion yourself. You grab your ankles and your wrists with pads, very tightly knitted pads, and based on the amount of weight you put on the pulleys that are now attached to your four limbs, you can either pull yourself a little bit. So you need help to do this because you need someone unhooking the weights and lowering them. And it basically feels like you're being mildly drawn and quartered. And if you increase the weights, once you're comfortable with the feeling and the tension, you can actually be suspended off the ground. So what it does is something that we really can't do as far as recovery for connective tissue, fascia, joints, ligaments, tendons, all the things that we don't normally work on. Usually we just focus on muscle when we're doing exercising. This is everything else. So this works on strengthening your connective tissue via traction rather than compression. Compression is traditional weight training. You could think of squeezing, and you're always closing the angle between a joint. So if you're doing a curl, you're coming back towards yourself almost. Traction means you're being lengthened, but it is still tension. What it allows, and I'm exactly like you, I've impinged my shoulder twice and I have hip issues because you're not fighting gravity, because you're suspended in the air. And once you are able to trust that the machine is holding you, you can actually fully let yourself go. And you can get into all the little weird spots that you can never whenever you have to brace and balance because your body's always protecting yourself. So you can get in there.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie to you. I watched it like 3 times, and
Yeah.
I saw the guy one time. He's literally wiggling around in these unique scenarios and positions, and you can tell that he's comfortable. You
Oh
can
yeah.
tell that he's moving those joints the way he wants to get his body to feel 100%. And I'm like,
Oh
man,
yeah.
I want to be on that rack right now. Because in
Yeah.
my mind, it's the rack. It's just this medieval
Yes.
torture.
We
But
doubled the amount of people yesterday because people were just like, "Oh, I need to try that."
yeah,
Yeah,
no.
it's an
Well,
experience.
to the last 10 years there, when people were actually watching television, there was that guy with the reverse suspended seat where he's stretching himself upside down. What was that thing called?
Inversion table?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
just put your
Yeah,
legs.
it's
Yeah, you can.
similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people have been wanting to do this for a long time, but you found something. See, that's another unique thing. Russia comes up with these wild things,
I know.
the hyperbaric chamber and all these other things, and they're like revolutionary. It's like, wow, you guys may go 2 steps backwards on some ideas, but then you go 5 step forward on all these really
Their
cool
fitness
sites.
is completely
Yeah,
different. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so yeah, looking at that machine, I'm like, wow, I might have to build one of these things in my backyard
Yeah,
because
I will ask the gentleman. I've gotten multiple requests since that video for people being like, "Do you have the blueprints for
I
this?
don't even
Because
think I need the
this is
blueprints. I
doable.
just need
You can
the.
figure it out for sure."
Oh yeah. The frame of
Yeah.
that did not look
Yes. No, it's
daunting
not
to
hard.
yeah, and pulleys are not really hard to comprehend,
Right.
and weights and all that. Yeah, it would
Yep.
be some kind of wrist restraint that would be
Yes.
comfortable, or some kind. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Any pad that
even
you can
then,
ratchet down.
oh yeah, and then you have to have some means by which someone can disconnect the weights for
Right.
you.
You need someone to do it with you. It needs at least one other person, unless you're using real light weights, in which case you can probably wiggle yourself to release it, but one other person is
Yeah,
necessary.
I think anything like that would probably be
Yeah,
wise to have a second
exactly.
person. Have you tried it yourself?
Oh yeah. No, I was the first week I was a little timid because any new thing where you don't know how it's going to feel, you always have to overcome that mental barrier of why don't you just stay in your comfort zone? Something might go wrong. Like all of the mental excuses start popping up. And I started on the ground. So basically just a little bit of tension. I think the formula for it is 100 pounds for figuring out each corner, how much weight to put on it. Take your weight in pounds. Actually, it probably doesn't matter. Just convert to kilograms or pounds, whatever your weights are, and add 100 and then divide by 4.
Okay.
And that is per corner weight. So that's a good. I started less than that just to see what the tension felt like. And when on the ground, you can do all sorts of like little acrobatic exercises and
Yeah.
contort yourself. And then if you once you get comfortable on, you're trusting your body. You're like, nothing bad will happen. I trust this thing to hold me. We increased basically doubled the weight, and that's when you can get suspended off the ground. And that feeling, just breathing into that for like 30 seconds, just feeling your joints kind of, that feeling when you're hanging on like a pull-up bar and you can feel your lower back just decompressing and wiggling and popping a little bit.
Yes.
It's that, but at a much accelerated rate because you don't have to hold anything. Like on a pull-up bar, you're still holding yourself. If you don't have to hold anything, my lower back just it felt like I could breathe twice as deep whenever I was breathing into it because you can fully relax. It was quite
Sold.
an experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sold. You had me at
Yeah.
hello. Yeah, because that's sounds like an amazing experience.
Oh yeah. It
So
was.
you touch on a lot more stuff than just this. You just said you stopped drinking coffee, unfortunately, even though the last 4 or 5 podcasts I did.
Well, that's just me because my nervous system is such that I don't need it. And it just some people just jacks up their nervous system where when I wake up within about 10 minutes, everything is moving. Like I'm going. My body is firing. The coffee has been the only addiction and vice I can't get rid of because it's such a ritual and because I can justify it to myself because it has so many health benefits. It improves cognition, there's antioxidants. Like I can justify it to myself. But the problem with me, which is part of the coaching I do, is it's so individualized, is that it never stops at one. If I have one, obviously there'll be an energy decline, maybe about 3-4 hours later, and then I need something else. Where if I never do it, I never need anything. Like I just drink water and electrolytes and minerals all day. But that's just me.
No, you're 100% right because mine goes from 1 cup to 2 cups. Then when I get to
Right.
about 3 cups, which is
Yep.
where I'm at about now
You're
in a
always
day,
chasing that first cup
I
high
have
almost.
to, yeah, I have to
Yep.
detox. I've
Yep.
got to just go 3 or 4 days without it, and then
Yes.
start the whole process over again.
Yeah.
I don't have a choice. I enjoy it too much. Like you said, it's such a big ritual. I've
It
gotten rid
is.
of so many other vices
Hey,
that,
if that's your only one,
yeah, that's the only
yeah.
one I can think of. I don't ever have a beer anymore unless I'm at the restaurant and having a steak. I
Yes,
really
exactly.
don't. I really don't. Um, yeah, I can't think of too many other vices.
Well, you're doing well then. If coffee's the last one, that's what, people always roll their eyes at me. Coffee's the last one that you're working on, you're doing pretty well.
I think so. Yeah. So that's justification all by itself. See, I
Yes,
just play the game. I
exactly.
just play the game. 3 cups, 0 cups. 1, 2, 3, 0. 1, 2, 3, and I guess it's like a little torture for myself. I don't know.
Yeah. What I've been having success with on that front is I will I don't make my own because again it's completely ritualized. It gets me out of the house in the morning. And I've never been able to duplicate the effects. So what I do is when I get a coffee from my favorite little cafe in Western North Carolina, is I'll take a sip just to like satisfy that itch, dump half of it out,
Ooh,
and then make like a protein shake with it. So I'm only getting half of the dose of caffeine.
yeah,
That's been working well. So I still get all of the pleasant effects,
yeah.
but I don't need the 120 milligrams. And I don't even drink dark roast. Like it's such a small amount of caffeine anyway, but the halving has been working for me, thankfully.
All right, very cool. I
Yeah.
like the way you moderated that because I find that anything I do, whether it be holding back or stress or being uncomfortable with something, is it's got to be sustainable.
Yes.
I
That's
can't
key.
I can't jump in an ice bath for 45 minutes. I can do it for 2 minutes. I can go to the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning. I can do it 5 days a week. I can't do it 7 days a week. And there's a litany of tests and lists of things I do
Mm-hmm.
that just have to be sustainable.
You just nailed health coaching in a nutshell. Yep. If you figured that out about yourself, then you win.
Yeah, and it makes a
Yeah.
big difference because when you
Yes.
struggle, and even if you fail one day, it being sustainable and getting back on that horse becomes such an easier task. It really does. The other day,
Agreed.
I didn't go to the gym for one morning, and I felt guilty. I'm not gonna say I didn't feel guilty, but getting back on it was so much easier.
Yes. Yeah. But if you go more, I find if you go more than 3 days without that consistency, law of inertia starts to work against you again. Like you have to go through the mental process to get back into the swing. But one day off doesn't seem to have that effect for
Yeah,
me, at least.
and the
Yeah.
weekend doesn't seem to be too bad. It actually motivates me to want to jump back in there and push real hard
Yes.
and try to look at the target you're trying to aim at and then Tuesday's fine and everything and you're good and you just get back into it and you're fine.
Yeah. Recovery is key. Weekends are very helpful usually. Yeah.
I didn't. I was so gun ho about losing weight. I was so gun ho about getting everything that I was doing it 7 days,
Yeah.
and it's not. We're not meant to do it all the time like that. We're
No,
really not.
no, you're not. You run into the other end of the spectrum, which is adrenal fatigue symptoms, which is what I have all too much familiarity with. Yeah.
Really. All right, go ahead and tell everybody about that because I
Oh, just
never heard
like I
anybody
said,
express it.
my metabolism is such that I don't need to do a ton to get it going. And this is so basically just a story in learning how your body operates. So it took me this long to figure out because I was a personal trainer. I'm a health coach by trade. I started as a personal trainer, but when you're doing that, you're in the gym doing resistance training every day, and every 3 weeks I was basically getting annihilated, just getting laid out, lethargy, brain fog, which is the symptoms of adrenal fatigue, mainly depending on how your body processes stress and just your level of stress as a person. And mine is just a little bit heightened. I tend to be a more type A person and have a lot going on. So everything in your life that is stress is stacking on top of the what you're putting your body under. So I was just basically doing too much on too many levels. So mental fatigue, physical fatigue, and once I started prioritizing recovery, which is probably more recovery time than most people need, my body type is such that I just need to go all out for 20 or 30 minutes 2 to 3 times a week, and then the rest of the time is straight recovery. And recovery meaning can be active recovery too, like walking counts as recovery, but just not always pushing yourself to 85% plus. So that was my sweet spot, was sort of hit workouts, very acute brief bouts of almost all out, and then the rest of the time prioritizing low level, just having circulation going, but tons of recovery time for
Okay.
me.
So my question to you is, Alex, as a coach and stuff,
Mm.
how do you find that sweet spot for every individual person?
It is completely different. Well, most people, like you said, will have a story of they've played around with this before. So they know what hasn't worked and the periods of time in their life when they've just been on it. Most people will have had that if they have a history of sports or just trial and error. If someone is brand new coming to it, those are the good ones because you can watch them learn and you start slow and they will do it to themselves. So I don't really program exercise routines anymore. I give frameworks. And what tends to work best for most people is you definitely have to push yourself. But the question is, how many times a week and what modality of training do you enjoy that's sustainable, like you said? And then how much recovery time do you need based off of every other thing going on in your life? Someone with like 2 kids is going to have a completely different training program than a single guy because your stress levels are just going to be different, and stress in all forms will dictate basically how quickly your body adapts to the load you're putting it under. So it's different for everyone, which is why I love the individualized approach to coaching. I don't have a cookie cutter programs anymore because they just weren't sustainable for anyone. You have to customize.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. That makes perfect sense to me. To be honest with you, I can see that being tailored to every person perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually kind of fun to see you even explain it because I did it myself and it was a trial and error scenario. And I wish I would have had someone in the background just whispering in my ear, this is
Yeah.
probably a good idea, this is probably not. Because you have a scope of what you can do,
Yes.
and a scope of what you do want to do, and a scope of what you should do. And they're all kind of different. And you're trying to like fit them together, and there's a lot to it.
There's a lot to it.
You touched on clean water a little bit. I saw
Oh
that on
yeah.
one of your things.
I'm
How
a
big of
water
a deal?
nerd.
Yeah, how big of a deal is that?
So part of health coaching, obviously the massive mover is nutrition coaching, just because people know they need to exercise. And that's usually, they'll find what works for them, what programs work for them over time. And nutrition is probably 80% of metabolic health, meaning your how you feel, your energy levels, your mood, your cognition. And nutrition coaching is hard because it's not hard to explain, it's hard to implement for most people because food is through your childhood is always used in ways other than just nourishment. There's always emotions attached to it. There's always so many levels of ways and lenses you can look at food. Basically, people have um, decades of packaging around food. You have to decondition first. So there's education, there's deconditioning. The reason I like the water so much now, and I have this. So I have a couple beverages. I always have a couple beverages now. This is like a little blue bottle that I carry my water around in, and then I love electrolyte beverages. First thing in the morning, I just do Um, Basically minerals. This is just mineral water that's got like a lot of minerals in it. But people don't have the same hangups around hydration, as in there's zero that I found. There's no real barrier to changing your water to cleaner water. Like tap water for most people is horrible. Like
Yeah.
you can just pull your tap water report off ewg.org/tap water. It's the environmental working group. They put out third party tests of all the municipalities, and you just type in your zip code and you look at your water, and it's usually not good because municipalities just don't have the filtration for the level of volume we're working with. You just can't filter down to the level of contamination that's in there, basically as a byproduct of industry. Like there are new compounds being made every day from agriculture, from plastic manufacturing, from basically every industry has some byproduct, and it all gets flushed into the water system at the end. So there's a whole bunch of things in there you probably don't want to consume. So if I can get someone to drink clean water, and clean, I mean like NSF certified. This is the National Standards Foundation. They're basically the true third party testing. EPA has gotten a little interesting over the years. They've raised their limits on everything, but NSF is like a good third party that's not government affiliated, and they set the standards. So if I can get people drinking just better water than tap water and most bottled water at that even, they'll find their health dramatically changes because they'll drink more water. For one, most people are just dehydrated. Like most people just don't drink enough water for their weight. I think I didn't do that until probably I was like 26 or something. So maybe until 4 years ago, I didn't start actually taking that seriously, which is, it's just kind of one of those things you take for granted. You're just
Yeah.
drinking things during the day and you don't ever think about it really.
Yeah. I worked in construction for years, and
Mm,
we drink so much water we'd have to bring lemonade,
right.
and then we drink so much lemonade you'd have to switch it out for like iced tea or something else or
Yes.
Gatorade every other day because you only drink so much water before you don't want to drink water anymore.
Right.
But you knew you
Yeah.
needed the water because you're on a roof for 10 hours, 12 hours
Oh yeah.
straight. So, and man, I wouldn't take a piss until like lunchtime. You
Right.
just sweat it. You just pour in sweat, just sweat it all out all morning.
Exactly. And this is the other part of it is the minerals. So water does, this is why I try to steer people away from RO, reverse osmosis water,
Because there's nothing
is
in it. There's nothing
is
but water.
you need minerals for absorption. Right. So it's critical that you can get them from things other than water. Obviously, food has minerals, but ideally it's packaged in the way you would find it. Obviously you can't drink out of most streams now because they're heavily contaminated, but the filter I use preserves minerals, so it strips everything else. It's a very interesting type of carbon tech that's not granulated activated carbon, but it preserves minerals because you need the minerals for adequate, that there will hold the water. Electrolytes hold water. It's part of there's a nutritional aspect of this as well. When I do most of my coaching is centered around primal or ancestral stuff, which tends to be lower carbohydrate, and you need to focus on electrolytes when you do that because electrolytes hold the water in your muscle. Most of the time people do that to extreme, they'll feel like garbage because they're flushing
Oh, yeah.
electrolytes and water.
Alex, I got a wild story for you.
Oh, do it.
Okay. So, I lost like 80 pounds, I'm going to say, in like
Oh.
4 or 5 months, which was probably a little excessive on that spectrum, I understand. But I had my mind set and I wasn't going to have anything less. But in that process, I went very heavy on the protein
Mm,
and coincidentally almost eliminated all salt
yeah.
for no reason. I don't know why I did that. I just knew that it held in water. And I was like, well, if I'm going to lose weight faster, why not just not completely eliminate it, but consciously not put any in there?
Yes.
And it pretty much almost was complete. I was in so much pain, all my
Mm-hmm.
joints. I almost went home and drank water because I was drinking crazy amounts of water. Almost went home and drank water because I could hardly walk at work,
Wow.
and almost killed myself.
Yeah.
My friend at work, she's like, You idiot. It's like you're on a roof. She literally said this too. She's like, it's not like you're on a roof and all you drank was water all day. You didn't eat anything. She's like, have this Gatorade. You're going to be fine. Soon enough, an hour after that Gatorade, I was perfectly fine. I realized, and I did a little bit of research. Sugar is far worse for you than any salt will ever be.
Yeah, your kidney is a salt filtering engine. Like our bodies are really good at managing salt
Yeah. So as
for
long
the
as you
most
ain't
part.
drinking salt water all day, you should be okay.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and even then people are pushing it. There was a doctor, James DiNicolantonio, who wrote the salt fix, and he went back through all the literature and has probably he's the authority on this at this point, but basically it was like, oh, you can basically get, obviously not medical advice, you can get away with almost as much salt as you can, as your mouth will take, as long as you are not pounding sugar. So your kidneys are really good, unless you have kidney disease, at filtering salt, to the point where I now take a teaspoon as a pre-workout, and that's my only pre-workout.
Really? Okay,
A
that's a wild
teaspoon
one.
of
I've never
salt.
heard of that before. Okay.
I mean, it works because your every single muscle contraction uses electrolytes. So if you're pushing it, you are burning through sodium, potassium,
Yeah.
magnesium, all of the electrolytes. So
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
get
yeah.
some good salt, it feels like you took like a no explode, like all of those random pre-workout powders or liquids that you can buy at a gym. Salt has been like the thing that basically
Wow. Okay.
changed it for me. Yeah.
Okay, and potassium being another big one. Is having a banana every day a bad thing?
Oh no. I mean, I don't personally like bananas anymore because they're kind of just a sugar dump, but potassium is overlooked. Yeah, for sure. So I do a lot of avocados. Like there's plenty
I
of
do a lot of
foods
avocados. Yeah, yeah.
that
I try to
have
do an avocado every day if I can.
correct. Me too. Yep. I'm less on the banana side and more on the avo side. Like if you can get an avo in, yeah, better, in my opinion.
Okay. I'll be honest with you. I had to figure all this out basically on my own, and it's kind of funny. A lot of stuff that is considered the norm. I'm 44. What I remember learning as the norm, the pyramid for the
Uh-huh.
food, almost everything. Don't eat too much salt. Don't eat salt at all if you can avoid it because you're going to
Right.
get blood pressure issues. Almost everything not only is negotiable person to person, but a lot of it's completely upside down.
Correct.
Yeah, it blows
Yeah.
my mind. I had to unlearn. So I've read a book, and the guy said something to the effect of, and I'm going to word this wrong, but I'm going to try anyways.
That's fine.
It's easy to get someone to believe a lie. It's almost impossible to get them to unbelieve that lie.
Yes, correct.
Because once they've got it ingrained in their mind, and so when you learn this is what's good food, this is what's bad food, this is what's supposed, it's so hard to unravel that and then put a new baseline and get a whole new structure in that mindset. And I found that to be the biggest thing. Because, yeah, you're right. When it comes to water, no one's going to argue with you need water. Everybody's
Right.
going to be game for it. It's always been on the top of the list. And when you say, okay, we're going to get into the ins and outs of all that, most people are intrigued, enjoy it, and want to follow
Yes.
along. And there may be a money issue or access issue in some cases. But outside of that, everybody's game. Because if we
Yep.
could all drink out of streams, I think everybody would do it.
Yeah, if you get away with it, that's yeah,
I think they
right.
would, yeah. Because I remember as a child, you said you're out in Western Carolinas.
Yeah, I'm in Western. I'm right north of Asheville, North Carolina.
I
Yep.
grew up in Connecticut, and I've been up and down the East Coast a million times. What is it? Blue Ridge Mountains are gorgeous.
Blue Ridge.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Been through that a couple times. But I was on the Blue Trail my entire life. And when we were in Massachusetts, we had a summer home in Massachusetts. We literally had a stream we could just drink out of.
Mm-hmm.
But it was in the middle. When I say nowhere, I mean I think
Right,
that
middle of
town
the woods. Yeah.
had 120 people in the entire
Yes.
town. So that creek probably got exposed to humans once a week at most, and that was probably us.
Right. Exactly. That sounds wonderful. Yeah, I grew up in New Hampshire, and I have similar stories of just really remote, untouched, pristine water. I never actually tried to drink out of it, but my mom's a big hiker, so we would just take iodine with us and drank out of streams all the time.
Yeah,
Just
we
drop
were
some
big
iodine in it.
hikers. We were big hikers and fishers, and we
Yep.
would just use our hands. And
Yep.
I never got sick my entire life. But it was a small creek. It
Yes.
was straight out of the mountain. We probably were a quarter mile from where it's coming out,
Right.
and never had a problem. At least
That's
as a
awesome.
child, yeah, yeah. So it was a kind of cool experience. Um, so tell me about some of the business stuff you're doing. You're a trainer, you're a
Oh, I'm
coach.
all over the place. Yeah, I'm
Um,
interested in too many things.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw that you had you and a friend. You were saying you and this lady were doing something with water again.
Ashley DeMarco. Yeah. So
Ashley
I'll
DeMarco.
give
Yeah.
you a rundown. We just did our first podcast yesterday. So myself and Ashley DeMarco, we formed a water group here in Western North Carolina called the Appalachian Water Collective. We're big part of a bigger group called Evolution Era. Basically, just our mission is to get people to do exactly what we were talking about, which is start thinking about their water and realizing that it's probably one of the big movers in health because by molecular count, you are 99% water, like 99% of your body by molecule count is water. You're 66% water by weight. So if you can change your water to be a better quality, and we use specific technologies, I mentioned one of them for the filtration. The other one we use is electrolyzed reduced water. We call it living water because no one likes saying electrolyzed reduced water, but it has molecular hydrogen in it, which is the most potent antioxidant we know of. So that has
What
some
is that? What is
serious
that called again?
molecular hydrogen is the name, and
Okay.
it is a very, very powerful antioxidant. You've probably heard of antioxidants when
Yeah.
you think of blueberries,
Yeah.
microgreens, vitamin C. All oxidation is kind of like cellular rusting. Think about it's when oxygen bumps into something and literally steals electrons from it. So it kind of corrupts, which is what your damage is after you go to the gym and you feel kind of beat down. That's oxidative damage, oxidation. So it's if you want a visual for that, think rusting on a car. That's oxidation. So antioxidation, what the water that we use does is repairs that quickly because you're literally almost mega dosing in your water just hydrogen, and hydrogen is the most powerful antioxidant compound we have. So our mission is to basically try to get people back to feeling better because most people that we run across are just run down and stressed. And like I said, the nutrition aspect is very, very important, but the water has no real mental barrier for people. So if you buy it once and you have it forever. So that's what we do hydrate events here. We do a lot of education. We always bring water to in Asheville has just got a ton of different events. Like there's a festival like every weekend when it's not winter out. So we set up booths and we hydrate everyone. So that's what our main goal of that is. And there's a business that you can do if you're an entrepreneur with the water as well. So that's part of um, we're both sort of working on building wealth so we don't have to grind ourselves to the bone whenever we're 65 like our parents. So we are trying to broadcast the message that there are really cool business opportunities out there involving health and regenerative agriculture, which we're also both in. I have a farm 10 minutes north. I used to grow microgreens for a living. And now we do permaculture, which is like long term, think food forest, like orchards and berries and annual vegetables all at once. A little more planning involved in that, but we both really like health, water, nutrition, and just helping people get back to feeling better. That's the main goal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Water makes a lot of sense because it's one of
It
those
does.
things where if you get that right, you can feel a little bit better. So if you're starting that journey and you feel a little bit better up front, it's so much easier to keep on going and snowball that effect.
Exactly. It's the baseline. Yeah, if you're dehydrated, there is nothing that you can do really to make yourself feel better more quickly than just right hydrating. Your body does not appreciate a lack of water for anything. There's some people that'll do like dry fast just to see what it feels like. That's fasting without water. That's a very extreme method, and
Yeah, I wonder how that
like you were telling
feels.
about your weight loss journey. Water fasts are a very interesting thing to do. I wouldn't recommend it without having someone like helping you, but if that's very trippy, if you just consume liquids and water, good water specifically for like 1 or 2 days and don't eat food, your body goes through some drastic changes.
Oh, I've done that before. I've fasted
Yeah.
before, but I thought you were talking about fasting with no water at all.
People do that, and
Yeah.
it's super weird, and I wouldn't recommend
Yeah,
it.
that
But
sounds
if you want
wild.
to test yourself, it makes your body become very efficient at utilizing water, which is what it does. So your cells get real efficient at not wasting
So,
anything.
so what's the extreme on that? How many days would someone
I
even go
wouldn't
about that?
I wouldn't even recommend doing it because it's so brutal, but I don't think people get away for more than 3 days before, like, your organs just don't appreciate lack of water.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
great. Okay.
Yeah,
That's a
people do it
wild.
though.
Yeah, yeah, that's wild. Well, people do everything. People do
People
everything.
do everything,
Yeah, there's
correct? Yeah,
nothing off the table anymore.
exactly.
That's pretty cool. Okay. So let's get into the sustainable forestry slash like farming stuff. That's pretty unique stuff there,
Oh
like
yeah.
orchards and other things of that nature.
Yeah,
And
I love
there's plants that are perennials that come up every
yes.
year. I think what is it? Is it garlic that does that, or no? Not Brussels sprouts. There's several plants that do come
There
up
are.
every year.
Yeah, they'll reseed themselves. So I went farming and learned how to farm when I was like 24 because I
Who's my daughter?
realized oh, in
Excuse me.
my oh gotcha.
My daughter. Yeah, she was.
In my systems engineering job when I was 24, I realized I didn't really know how to do anything survival wise. So I went and learned how to farm. And that's been like the best thing that I've ever learned, was just how to grow food. So it started with just a garden, and then it, started building. And there's so many different ways to grow food, and that's part of my businesses. That's the cultivated in cultivated change. Change is obviously the lifestyle and the personal transformation, but the cultivated is the taking control of your food systems. So in my experience growing and learning from farmers, I found some land just north of me and a business partner. So we've been growing microgreens, which are the baby version of any vegetable, about 2 inches tall, and you can pack them in such a dense area, and they provide all the nutrition of the mature plant and more, which is pretty interesting. So we did that for a while, and permaculture is just basically thinking long term about forests of food. So you have your fruit trees, you have perennial bushes, like you said, so berries, and basically you just design. It's a way of looking at land and kind of not terraforming land, but more so looking at how the land is already set up, and where the water is running, and contour patterns and all that. It's a good mixture of landscaping, meaning you do have to do a good amount of digging and moving to set everything up, and you're planting trees and bushes, but you're thinking 5 to 10 years down the road instead of farming, which usually just thinks every season.
Yeah.
So that's where we have a project going in Asheville, North Carolina, is a hub of food production. So it's not super rare here, but everyone's approach on it is a little different. We'll be growing a ton of medicinal herbs for detox protocols, and obviously just a ton of food because everyone needs to eat. So we'll be hosting a permaculture design certification course there as well. I have a partner I work with that'll be doing showing people how to start their own permaculture businesses. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. Did you say you have an engineering background?
Yeah, so my actual degree was in systems engineering, information technology, and that's what I did for a decade before I started the health stuff.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah. And I thought I was rare, but almost everyone I meet who is now in farming came out of some sort of engineering, and they're like, man, it was just soul sucking. So now they're back reconnecting with the land, starting to grow. It's just the opposite world. Whenever you're in your engineering, it's kind of just devoid from the natural cycles of life. So people tend to find growing food because it reconnects them to the things that nourish them. And then you still have that mindset. You still have that like engineering
Engineering. Yeah.
efficiency. That doesn't go away ever. That's just how your brain works. But it's a good pair because you can really crank out some
Yes, I
food.
was going to say being the most efficient you possibly can has to be one of the best add-ons to any endeavor you
Yes.
do. It's kind of like telling the
Yes.
truth is just a very convenient way to live your life.
Right.
Having that engineering mindset doesn't have a unfavorable value in any
Yeah.
spectrum. Yeah, it correlates with everything else you do.
Yes. I mean, the ability to step through something logically and backwards engineer, yeah, is applicable in every single facet of life, from having to fix a piece of like equipment on the farm to just even
How that water
starting
is
to,
going to run down the side of your land.
yes,
Yeah.
all of that. Yeah. Mechanics flow, and just how being able to understand how things work step by step is, yeah, it's invaluable for everything, like you said.
So with the IT stuff, if you don't mind me going down that road,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think about some of these new AI stuffs like what is it,
Chat
GPT?
GPT. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's some wild stuff, huh?
I am not a huge fan of AI, but I fully recognize that it's not going away. So
No, no,
we've started, Ashley and I were just chatting about how to use that for it. It's going to eliminate most copywriters' jobs, I think. Like if you're writing
I'm a
script,
little concerned about college.
yeah, yeah. I
It's
mean,
going to
it's
turn out to be a multiple choice. You're going to get a master's degree in A, B, C, D.
right,
Because who's writing a thesis anymore? This thing will
right.
write 10 perfect ones for you at the
How do you
level
tell?
of, yeah, and you'll never be able to tell. And every
Right.
day it's going to get a little bit better.
Yes.
I think
Oh, yeah.
Microsoft, I
Every
think
minute.
Microsoft was saying they're going to drop another $10 billion on it.
They are trying to integrate it into Bing to make their search engine relevant.
Can you imagine? It'll blow it because the stuff I saw and the stuff I heard, I haven't even played with it. I'm going to be honest with you. Once I play with it, I'm probably never going to stop playing with it. So
That's the problem. It's addicting. So we've started, yeah, Ashley and I were playing with it because coming up with copy is always the annoying part, because you're
I
like,
was
what do I
just going to
say?
say,
How do I
I
say
was
it?
afraid. I was afraid that if I say, how do I get my business to do better?
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, I don't have to do. I started with just audio and learning how
Yes.
to edit audio all by itself. I was terrible at it. And then I learned how to do the video a little bit, and I was terrible at it. And then I found the best way to be the most efficient at what I was doing to a certain degree. I know there's still a couple things with lighting. I would like my chair to be a little bit higher. There's all these little nuances I want to change. Pay the full version of the.
Right.
All right, hold on, sweetie. Hold on. I apologize. One second. Listen to me. Go have breakfast. Ignore your sister. I'm on the phone. Okay. So yeah. The unfortunate thing is I don't want to be in a position where I start getting a hang up where I'm relying so heavily
Yes.
on something else to make my decisions for me, because that it would be the equivalent of the machine going to do the workout for me.
Yeah, exactly. It's one more thing that we don't necessarily want to outsource. We still want to have the capability, but man, is it efficient at writing copy.
Oh, I'm sure, man, and it's kind of frustrating to think I'm going to be left behind if I don't play with it,
Yep.
and I'm going to get
Exactly.
lazy if I do play with it.
Yep. You nailed it. So there's a nice medium where use it for the stuff you really, well, this is what we're trying to do, is I'm using it for the stuff I really don't like writing. Like I do tons of audio and video, and that's my creative content.
Yeah.
That is an insight into my mind. I am absolutely happy outsourcing writing a YouTube description that hits all the SEO ticks to that, because that's the part I hate doing.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan either.
Right. Yeah. So I will definitely do it for that, but 100% you do not want to lose the faculty of being able to form creative thoughts and writing, and that's a learned skill, so we still have to retain that. Yeah.
So once it does that, I heard that it can even grade itself, and once it's in like robot form and it can experience the real world and formulate and conduct a almost like a scientific method.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Once it's able to do that,
Yes.
I don't even know where that's going to go.
So the problem that I've seen, or the problem that most of the engineers who know what they're talking about, and I have zero experience in AI, is basically just the problem they always run into is there's too many choices for AI. If you're in an embodied form like a robot, it's why would I take this next action? As in, there's too many choices. The reason ChatGPT works so well is there's zero choice. It is just a language parser. You don't
Yes.
have to interact with sensory experiences in the world yet.
People don't realize we're more like the robots than we think. We have the
Yeah,
same problem. We have unlimited choices. Do you know
correct.
how we cipher through those choices? We've lived through the lens of a story.
Right.
That's why we tell the stories we tell. That's why we read the books. That's why we still have the Bible sitting there. All these things are the lens by which we see the world, and it limits and it shaves off all the outside ideas and
So you don't
narrows
have
it
to
down.
deal with infinite possibility all the time.
Because we're not designed to have infinite possibilities.
Yeah, you
And
go crazy.
Once they figure it out, that's one of the reasons why they build the robots in the form of a human. So the human will experience, or the robot will experience the environment as a human.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because if you experience it as something with tracks and weird hands,
Right.
you will not have the same conclusions we come to with a gun, with a cup, with a doorknob. You'd be,
Yep.
you know, what I mean, with the staircase, everything would change. So they're recreating us, and I'm telling you right now, once they get that robot into a story, and they can filter out some of the variables,
Yes.
it'll be there, man. It's going to be
Yep,
there.
I agree.
And it's going to be
Quickly.
there so fast.
Yes.
Because here's the deal. We went from airplanes to the moon in 50 or 60 years.
Yep.
And cell phones and the computer are exponentially wiping out television and all these other things at 7 or 8 times the speed.
Yeah.
And we don't see the ramifications of the cell phone 12 years ago.
Right.
We didn't see Tinder and Instagram doing what it does to the dating game. We didn't see it almost eliminate phone calls.
Yeah.
So there's unforeseen consequences. And I'm not saying they're negative or positive. I'm just saying we don't see them coming until they're already here. When those robots, and I was actually the way because me and my daughter did a podcast on the AI cars and all that stuff. Elon Musk said the day the cars roll out, the robots roll out.
Right.
They've got all the same stuff in their chest as the car has in the front of it. Same
Right.
cameras, same GPS, same Wi-Fi, same all that. All of it's going to be the exact same hardware. It's just instead of wheels, it's feet. Instead of
Yep.
doors, it's hands. And that's I think they said. And I've already noticed that Uber is going up, and the stock Uber stock is going up because once they eliminate the person, it's
Right.
100% profit.
Right. That's true.
So I've already noticed that their stock's going up because they already declared by the end of this year they should start rolling out the trucks that drive themselves. So that's
With
coming out.
Cybertrucks?
Oh yeah, that they're predicting it's going to start at the end of this year. So even if
Wow.
they're off,
Right.
how fast will we go from iPhone 1 to iPhone 14?
Right.
How fast? Three times as fast.
Exponentially.
I would
Yeah.
say 3 times as fast as the phone did.
Yeah. Moore's law. So it's on an
It
exponential
doubles
curve.
every 18 months. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'll be honest with you. Being an engineer, I didn't even know I'd be talking to an engineer because I've been wanting to talk about this kind of wild stuff
Oh,
for
nice.
a while. Yeah, yeah. Where does it go if the robots can build the roads for us? Where does it
This
go
is
if they
the-
can mow the lawn for us? Where does
Yeah.
it go if they can do everything?
There will always be a subset of people like me who don't want to outsource everything. And the question becomes, what tasks are life sucking for you that you do not enjoy that would give you more life to live that you could automate? Like probably no one likes vacuuming. So robotic vacuum cleaners, probably fine. So the issue for me is, what's the demarcation point where I start losing useful skills because I start outsourcing them?
Yeah, I'm afraid to outsource anything. I'm
Right.
still doing almost all my paperwork on this business.
Right.
I'm literally paperwork.
Okay.
Yeah. I got a paper thing there. I got paperwork everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm still doing it as old school as possible. Even my scheduling. I got my calendar here. I've got another calendar that I take with me, and I try to correlate the two together. I got a cell phone in my pocket. For some reason, I did it in the 80s this way. I did it in the 90s this way. And I'm going to be honest with you. we're creatures of habit, one,
Oh yeah.
and we're creatures of least resistance. And
Correct. Yeah.
about half our population during COVID proved failure, systemic failure on their part to not just say, "I'll live with my aunt and I'll play video games." I'm not being a jerk. I'm saying half the population just said, "Screw it, I'll do the laziest common
Yes.
denominator."
You're
Half,
right. Yeah.
half the population failed.
Right.
So if those robots rolled out and half the population fell in line, how much longer would it be before 60, 65, 70? It wouldn't take long
No.
because now the robot can do. So my question to you is, the banks don't need me to walk in the door. My bank closed down the street. It just closed
Right.
down. There's no need for a teller. I could do everything on my phone. I could take a
Yeah.
check and take a picture of it. If I need physical cash, which I never
Right.
do, I can go to the ATM machine. Teller is useless. That person's useless. So the building's gone. The bank still exists, but the building's gone. So you're going to see a downsizing of thousands of jobs on that
Yes.
on that front. You're going to see that coffee shops. They're talking about that robot arm that spot welds the car, making your coffee. So you have this giant box, you put $5 in, and you watch this robot arm with all these elbows make your coffee.
We're getting the movies real fast.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
So
there's
my
so many
point
movies
is,
about this.
they're going to do that at McDonald's. And
Yeah.
if you don't think they're going to, you're crazy. And the grocery stores, they're going to eliminate the self checkout, and you just walk right through. And
Right.
It just takes the money
Scanned.
right out of your. Yeah. So, and we already seen Amazon stock shelves with robots.
Yep.
So 75% of the jobs are gone forever.
Yep.
And you can't fight it. You can fight it, but you can't. I dated a girl when I was in my early 20s that was in Connecticut. There, she was. Her father was union president of the longshoremen, and they were fighting the automation of taking the cranes out of their hands and having the robots pull the boxes off the ship. They lost that battle. It took about 10 years, but they lost that battle. And they all got retrained to fix the robots, to work on all the little other nuances that came about. But eventually those jobs can be replaced too or minimized. You go to some of these big warehouses that build the cars.
Yeah.
There's one engineer per mile in those big factories.
Right.
And his job is just to keep the machines running.
Right.
That is his only job. If something breaks, that is a very rare occasion, and everything has to stop, and 5 guys have to go in and fix it. But outside of that, and they normally don't fix it; they just replace it. Whatever section got malfunctioned, we'll just get, and they pop a new one in.
Yep, I know the feeling. I mean, that's kind of what you did whenever you're working with machinery. Is it's always quicker to just replace it than actually figure out what's wrong and fix it. Usually.
So I'm trying to think of the sci-fi movie where all of us are just like, stay in your house. The robots are going to mow the lawn. The robots are going to fix the bridge. The robots are going to fix the electricity. Stay in your room. Oh, by the way, the groceries you got last week, we have it self-delivered by the truck that drives itself. There's a minivan over here. Push the 4-digit number, and you'll get the exact amount of groceries you got last week.
Yes.
You don't even have to go to the grocery store. You can just stay home. What does that sci-fi movie look like?
It's a combo of everything.
Well, we got to do something with our time. So now everybody's stuck in their house and they're bored. So what do? Work in the metaverse to compensate for not working in the real world? Mm-hmm. So now
some people are there. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that what we're looking at in the next 15, 20 years? Is that how this is going to play out?
Oh, I don't know. I chose the opposite path. So
I saw you. Yeah. I saw that you have. And I'm
because
sure...
I thought about this. Yeah.
Oh, you have played that.
Well, I mean, you always have to grow food. Like I'm moving more analog. Yeah. Obviously the digital stuff for communication and for business. But if I make a business out of it, I would be almost all analog. Like for every conversation like this that's taken place, there is someone who has already thought about it and started building parallel systems that incorporates the best efficiency, but still recognizes sort of the innate purpose that people need, because you just kind of feel, if you don't have, connection, if you're not in the natural rhythms of the world, at least I feel pretty purposeless, aimless, which isn't a good feeling,
Oh
especially
yeah,
for
no,
guys.
I take a walk every morning on
Yeah.
my break. I take a walk because I do have all this light over my head, and I'm not hearing the birds, and I'm not hearing
No.
the wind, and I know that's bad for you. I did 10
Yes.
years of construction, and I miss it more than anything else but I had to feed my family, and this is a real steady
Yep.
job, and yeah, it's real.
Gotcha.
It's such a hard conundrum,
Yep.
because I don't want to get caught in some place where I can't be self-sustaining. I believe every human being should be as self-reliant as
Yes.
humanly possible, whether that be the freedom to own a gun or the freedom to
Mm-hmm.
farm or to sustain yourself on your land to pay the taxes. Kind of.
Agreed.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I think. Hey guys, you got to leave. No, you got to leave. I'm in the middle of something. I apologize, man. I have
That's all right. The
I have
joys of
six
kids.
children. I have
Oh, wow.
six children, and the two that are the most useful aren't here right now.
Ah. So I guess to what I was going for will be there will be competing parallel economies. If you want to go the route of maximum convenience, that'll be available. If you don't, that'll also be available because there are plenty of people who see that and just don't feel good living that way, and then they move up where I am.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're
Not
yeah,
only what you're doing will be necessary to a certain
right.
extent, no matter what, but there's gonna, as the jobs narrow down, the ones that are the hardest to be meticulously reproduce,
Yes.
genetically or artificially, will be the last ones gone, and some may
Right.
never disappear. Some may never disappear. So, so yeah, I think if you predict what's going to happen, I mean, you know that half the population is going to be lazy. So you know,
Probably more.
but-
I would
oh,
go
yeah,
like
yeah,
80%.
But 1 minute
Sure.
out of my room. Ask Ariana to make you. Ask Ariana to make you Legos. Come on. Close the door behind you. Please. Well, I guess we're going to have to wrap this up faster
Sure.
than I thought, man.
No worries.
But yeah, Alex, I think what you're doing is fantastic. I think the vast majority of people, even when they go down the rabbit hole of being lazy, because I did the same thing. I sat around, drank beer, watched TV, eat Doritos.
It's so easy.
And one day woke up and said, that's not what I want. And I was looking for an Alex at that moment. I relied on Regan. I had no choice but to rely on Regan. Just the way the cards felt. They fell for me. But
You
there's
built
so
those
many-
skills though.
yeah, and there's so many cool things going out right now, and there's so many things that can be done. I think you're right. It's almost like nature itself or the world leaves that portal for you to go down another road, whether it be these new contraptions like the Pavilio thing, and just
Yeah.
we're seeing so many new things come out. If you think about it, hyperbaric chamber is not that old, 40, 50
No,
years
it's
old at
not,
the max. And it's just starting to proliferate into the world right now.
Yes.
We're learning things about cold and heat and all this
Yeah.
other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. All the fundamentals of learning your human operating system are becoming popular. Sort of the biohacking world that I live in, it's just learning how your body operates. When you're like, what happens if I do this? What happens when I do this? And that's what I love paying attention to. My days are so interesting because I get to play with all those and I get to listen to people's experiences changing and transforming with all of those really cool technologies that show you how your body operates.
Yeah, I'm jealous because you're an engineer. It's basically like you're a big kid because
I'm
you
a
get the
big kid.
reverse. Yeah, well, what I mean is when you're a child, you play with Legos and Lincoln Logs, and you try to work through the engineering of doing fun stuff, fun guy stuff. You're literally doing fun guy stuff,
Yep.
and that's what I meant by like a big kid, man. You know how
yeah.
lucky you are to do that. My goal in life was to buy some land in Vermont and build a log cabin literally from the trees on the land. I had my own 2-man saw. I had everything. I had everything. The family and life just rolled into another version of what I wanted. But maybe me and my son in a couple of years will be able to do that. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe just push the timeline back. Maybe this is what you needed, and you'll still get what you wanted.
Oh, well, yeah. I'm very physical fit now. For 44,
Right.
I'm in pretty damn good shape. I really am.
Awesome.
I could run 3 or 4 miles while my 6-year-old son can't even keep up with the bike. So I'm doing pretty good.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, crushing it.
And I was not there a couple years ago. I got real squishy and real cushy real fast, man.
That's a rapid transformation. So I applaud you. And maybe on a different, I mean, this is what my podcast is about.
Can we
Is
get energy?
hi, is figuring out how people found their way through transformation. So maybe at some point I'll have you on mine, and I'll.
Oh, I would
I'll
love to,
your
man.
health story.
Absolutely, Alex. I appreciate you coming on mine.
Yeah.
I would never say no to reciprocating. I think reciprocity is a lost art. People don't realize how
agreed.
people don't realize how connected we are. We're a network and a node in and of ourselves, more so than anybody really can rationalize. Because
Agreed.
you look at just like Facebook, you got 1,000 friends, and each one of those are well-connected 1,000 friends. You're one away from 1 million, and
Correct.
2 away from 1 billion.
3 billion, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Jordan
And
Peterson was the first one that pointed that out to
Oh,
me,
yeah.
and I was like,
Well, yeah.
"Oh, wow."
And it's so realistic. If you've got a problem with your house, you got a problem with your plumbing, or you got a problem with your car, you can go to YouTube or you can go to Facebook, and you can get the same result with such a vast different answer. You know what I mean? And and that network means way more than you think, because there's way more valuable in this world than just, can I fix my pipes, or can I fix my car real quick, and can you come over and help me? Who knows what you know that I need? I love you, brother. Go ahead, say hi to Alex.
Hi.
Alex.
All right, that's little Regan. All right,
Oh.
little Regan. We're
There you
gonna
go.
wrap this up, and we're gonna go on an adventure today. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, that sounds great.
All right, Alex. I appreciate you, man. I will never say no to the invitation. And it looks
good.
like you're doing some amazing stuff. So if you want, go ahead and plug away your thing.
Oh
Tell us
yeah,
everything that you're
I'm
doing.
all over the place. So if people are interested in anything we've chatted about, the most succinct way to look is bio.link/Alexander Corey. That's Corey. That's just a list of everything I'm involved in. All my social media
Alex.
is at the top. Bye, Regan. And if people want to reach out or just see anything about microgreens, anything about health, anything about the water, just go to that link, bio.link/Alexander Corey, Corey. Everything, all contact info is there, and everything I'm involved in is there, and all the podcasts are at the top. And it's a world of exploration and interest and curiosity.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I love everything you're doing, man.
That's good.
I'll
I
push
appreciate
it as
it.
much as I can for you,
I
man.
want to say hi to
That's
Andrew.
awesome.
Good deal. All right, Alex.
It was nice chatting, Regan.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Have a great rest of your day.
All right, you too, man.
Weather is good. Sun is shining. Shining. Don't get my vibe.